What's going on, everyone? So any opportunity I have to talk about Zach Lavine, I'm going to talk about Zach Lavine because I really want to see him on the Lakers. Something that I've talked about heavily is, you look at the landscape, look at the players that are available via trade, you look at the asking price, and no one makes sense right now, right? Lakers have a press conference in 3 days on Wednesday the 25th, and more likely than not, what's going to happen is we're going to go into that press conference, right? Rob Pelinka is going to talk about the CBA, and he's going to talk about how, there are no trades and this, that, and the other. And I know a lot of people look at that as an excuse, but I don't think he's wrong. Right? I genuinely do believe and buy it. Right? Like Jeremy Grant, he's not worth 2 firsts. Right? Cam Johnson, he's not worth 2 firsts. Right? I mean, they want a first for Dorian Finney-Smith. They've been trying to get a first for Dorian Finney-Smith for like 3 years now. Right? Like no one's biting. Why? Because these guys aren't just not worth those asking prices. These guys are not worth those prices. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't pull off a trade if those prices drop, but it's always been a Jeremy Grant right? There's not that one guy that makes you a bona fide contender. There's not that one guy that, like, you go get Jeremy Grant, now you're top 3 to 5 team in the league. The closest, in my opinion, as far as like a player that gives you the best chance of upside is Zach Lavine. And I know a lot of people, they look at like his injury history, right? Plus his contract. Well, all these guys available all have issues. Bruce Brown just had surgery. Jeremy Grant is averaging like 50 games a season. Cam Johnson, the most he's ever played in his career is like 66 games, right? You go down the list, all these guys are injury prone with an injury history, right? All these guys have bad contracts based on, the games they play and whatnot. So to me, if all of these guys are a gamble, take the one that gives you the best chance of upside, that you don't have to give up all your draft picks for, right? That, people want guys like, a Kyrie Irving. Here talks about Steph Curry, right? Now, obviously, Zach Lavine isn't Kyrie. He's not Steph. But for what we want those guys to provide alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Zach Lavine gives you the same thing, right? Kyrie, you're looking for him to be that go-to scorer, right? And so many people talk about, but Zach Lavine in the playoffs, and Kyrie Irving just averaged like 15 a game in the finals. He wasn't like Cavs Kyrie Irving in the playoffs, particularly in the finals. The first game he had 9 points, something like that, 12 points, and then he followed that up with 15. And then he had that one game where he had I think it was 30 or 32, where him and Luka combined for I think it was 65, right? But Steph obviously is fantastic, but again, we're looking for him to be that scorer, to be that guy that can take pressure off of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Zach Lavine gives you that same thing, but he might actually be an even better fit, right? Because there would be no discrepancy. Let's say you do get a Steph. Who's the first, second, or third? Because there has to be that. There has to be that pecking order. Is LeBron really going to take that much of a step back? Or is Steph taking a step back? Right? Anthony Davis probably going to be the main guy, right? And he's the guy that's for the future as well, right? So then not only that, but then, say you get a Kyrie Irving. So is LeBron taking a step back? Is it Anthony Davis taking a step back? Is it Kyrie taking a step back? Right? Steph and Kyrie have never been the third guy, right? They've always been first or second, right? Even Steph, when he had Kevin Durant, was first, second guy. Kyrie, everywhere he's been, he's either been the first or second guy. Zach Lavine is the third guy. He would come in knowing he's the third guy. He would look at it as, I'm the third guy. There would be that established pecking order. Again, I'm not saying he is as good as Steph and Kyrie, but he's not bad, especially as a scorer. It's a guy that go get you 50 on any given day. He played 25 games last year and still dropped a 50 piece, right? Let's not pretend Zach Lavine is just some scrub. The guy can score with the best of them, and you'd be asking him to do what he does best. You're not asking him to do all this other stuff. You're asking him to just be what you are, which is just a bucket getter. And the Lakers need it badly. But main reason I want to kind of talk about him again and kind of dive into him outside of hey, I'll just talk about Zach Lavine, is, do you take the risk of bringing Zach Lavine now? Because the big question, the big talk is okay, well, if you're going to get Zach Lavine, why haven't you done it? Why didn't you do it now so you go get other pieces and get other guys and all that stuff? Well, because Zach Lavine is a risk, right? With his contract, if he's making $20 million, there'd probably be 10 teams lining up to sign him, right? But he's making 40 plus, right? You'd have to trade, but here's the thing, you'd have to trade 3 guys to go get a Jeremy Grant anyway, right? It's just instead of Cam Johnson, you're giving up D'Lo or whatever, right? Or Gabe, instead of giving up, Cam Reddish, not Cam Johnson, Cam Reddish, you're giving up a D'Lo anyway, right? But still, you're giving up multiple guys to bring in him. That you could bring in like a Jordan Goodwin, Christian Coloco, right? Throw in like a Hayes or something like that, just free up some space or whatever so you can sign other guys. You'll be fine. You'd still have, Austin Reeves, Zach Lavine, Jared Vanderbilt, Max Christie, Dalton Connect, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Christian Coloco, Christian Wood, right? You're fine if you get Zach Lavine. But the ceiling raises higher. But again, do you go and get him now, or do you wait? That's the big thing. And that's what I think the Lakers are probably gauging. And it's twofold, right? One, you wait, because what if other things do come? Because again, I think Zach Lavine as a individual gives you the highest ceiling. But if you can get like a Jeremy Grant and like a Wendell Carter Jr., now I think you do that all day. So it gives the Lakers time and allows them to be patient to see what else is out there and what could potentially develop in the trade market. Like I said, maybe get multiple pieces. But also, it's probably in your best interest, given his injury history, which he has. I mean, last season he played 25 games, but how much of that was actually him, being hurt? How much of that was just he didn't want to go to Detroit? In the words of Austin Reeves, I ain't going to Detroit, right? Because he was expected to play back and finish the season. And then all of a sudden the Detroit rumors start, and he's like, I got to get surgery. And even Chicago was like, what? What do you mean you got to get surgery? So to me, I look at it as it's in your best interest if you're the Lakers to wait and see what does he look like? How is he moving? Now, look, he's post-training videos and all kinds of stuff where he looks great. He looks explosive. He looks athletic. He looks good. He looks really good. Training, workout videos, things like that are not the same thing as actual NBA games, NBA minutes, NBA pace, physicality, all those things. So if you're the Lakers, you be patient and see what else develops. Because Zach Lavine isn't going anywhere, for being honest. Who's trading for Zach Lavine outside of Lakers? There's not very many teams that need a player like Zach Lavine anyway, and that he's going to want to go to. It's just and have the assets to give up for Zach Lavine, right? And I'm not talking about picks, because you don't have to trade anything for Zach Lavine. But Zach Lavine, you still would want to wait and see. So if you're the Lakers, you can be patient. You're not worried about somebody coming in and swooping in Zach Lavine. So you wait and you see. You give it, 30 games or whatever, and see, how does he look? Right? Is he starting to deal with injuries? And it's like, do we really want to take that risk? Right? But what if he's healthy and great and looking good? Well, then yeah, now it's like, okay, well, let's take that risk. Let's go pull that off. Let's go make that move. Right? At that point, now maybe it makes a little more sense. Right? So I do think that that's probably the approach that they're taking. It would be the best approach. And Zach Lavine, the other reason I like Zach Lavine outside of him just as a player, again, you get to keep all your picks, so that gives you more trade flexibility, but also gives you future flexibility. So many people are like, well, if Zach Lavine doesn't stay healthy, or if it doesn't work, you're stuck with him. Well, same thing if you go get a Jeremy Grant. If Jeremy Grant doesn't work, you're stuck with him. No one's going to trade for his contract, and you have to give up all your picks. At least with Zach Lavine, you'd have all your picks. So maybe a team would take Zach Lavine if you give up picks. Right? Maybe you got a team that has a bunch of cap space. There's only a year left on Lavine's contract, and they're like, we could get an expiring contract and a first for doing so. Sure, right? You never know. But also, Zach Lavine's timeline matches Anthony Davis and LeBron's. So you kind of have everything fall off at once, kind of hit the reset button, whether you're keeping Anthony Davis or he goes elsewhere or whatever, right? Just it gives you future flexibility as well as winning now. And then in the offseason, you can still make a bunch of moves, right? Because this guy behind me can just opt out of his contract and restructure whatever you have to restructure in order to bring in a guy or two, right? So say you're still a piece away, right? Well, LeBron James could do what he was willing to do this season for Valanciunas and DeMar DeRozan and Klay Thompson and guys like that. LeBron could just be like, hey, go get this guy or that guy, I mean, you'd still go trade for Valanciunas. I mean, the Lakers could trade for Zach Lavine and still go and still have like 30 plus million in tradable salary, and that's not even counting Austin Reeves, right? Like, so the Lakers would still have all their picks with, if you needed to trade Jared Vanderbilt, you could trade Jared Vanderbilt, right? You'd have Max Christie, which I don't really want to trade. I wouldn't like to trade, but if you're kind of pushing your chips in to go all in, you have his $8 million. So, right, between those two, there's $18 million, right? And then at an event minimum, there's $20 million. You go get a Valanciunas in another piece, right? You go get multiple things, right? Like, I don't hate the idea. But time will tell. We'll see how it all plays out. But it does make sense. If you're the Lakers, be patient. Wait, right? Like, Zach Lavine's not going anywhere. Take your time. See what unfolds. See what develops, right? Nothing develops, and Zach Lavine's healthy and he looks good, go get him, right? Bring him in a Laker jersey. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think, like, yes, go get Zach Lavine, right? He's the guy. Yes, be patient. You want to see how he looks first. Because, again, like I said, you make the move now, right? And you don't know if he's healthy. You don't know how good he is. You don't know if he's ready. You're already dealing with Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood and all that stuff. And now you're trading 3 players that are healthy right now for a guy that may not be healthy. Like, that I understand. So I think if you wait, you give it, whatever, a month outside of the trade deadline. You give it till December, or maybe January, and then you kind of see, okay, well, he's been healthy, he's been good. If he's missed games, it's just been kind of knick-knack games, like, that's not a big deal, right? Okay, let's go get him. Or if he's dealing with injuries and stuff again, it's like, yeah, we should avoid this at all costs, right? So, does make sense. But let me know your thoughts and opinions again down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.